So, if you are someone who is constantly trying to cut through the endless noise of the enterprise tech world, really trying to figure out where the landscape of cybersecurity is actually shifting right now, welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's definitely a loud space right now.
Oh, absolutely. And today we are digging through a really fascinating stack of sources. Specifically, we've got the Q1 fiscal 2027 financial results and the latest investor presentation for a company called Rubrik.
Right, Rubrik.
Yeah, and our mission today is to figure out how this company is essentially building a massive empire by telling its customers something they desperately, do not want to hear.
It really is a jarring message when you step back and look at it. If
Yeah.
you look closely at these investor materials, their entire mission statement, like their whole value proposition, is built on a rather dark, almost terrifying premise for any IT executive.
Right. The premise is literally printed right there in their presentation. Cyber attacks are inevitable. Prevention and detection are not enough.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just sit with that for a second.
Yeah, it's bold.
Okay, let's unpack this because there is a massive irony here. You have a cybersecurity company openly admitting to the world and to its clients that they cannot prevent every attack.
Exactly.
They're basically looking at chief information security officer right in the eye and saying, you will get hacked.
Mhm.
And yet, somehow, despite that incredibly grim reality, they were convincing thousands of enterprise customers to hand over billions of dollars anyway. Like, how does a pitch like that actually work?
Well, it works because they are driving a fundamental psychological and technological paradigm shift. For decades, the industry basically sold cybersecurity, which implies, a digital fortress.
Right, like a moat.
Yeah. Build the walls high enough, buy enough firewalls, and no one gets in. But Rubrik is shifting that whole conversation to cyber resilience. In a world that is completely saturated with AI, where threat actors are using machine learning to probe perimeters and find vulnerabilities at, like, unprecedented speeds, assuming you are going to be breached, isn't just a realistic take. It is actually the safest, most responsible strategic posture a company can adopt.
Because if you assume the breach is inevitable, your entire architecture has to change, right?
Exactly. You stop focusing 100% of your budget on the walls, and you start focusing heavily on how quickly you can bounce back when those walls inevitably come down. How fast can you recover your data? How fast can you get your business running again?
Right, and the market is clearly buying into this philosophy. Like, let's actually look at the hard financial proof from this Q1 fiscal 2027 report, because the numbers aren't just good, they are staggering.
They really are.
We are talking about a subscription annual recurring revenue, or ARR, that just hit $1.57 billion. And that is growing at 32% year over year.
And keep in mind, at a scale of over $1.5 billion, maintaining a 32% growth rate is incredibly difficult. It means the momentum is actually accelerating even as the company gets massive.
Right. And their total revenue for the quarter jumped 39% year over year to $387.1 million. The presentation also notes that if you exclude material rights, that revenue increase is actually 43%.
Let's briefly contextualize that term for anyone who isn't deep in enterprise software accounting.
Please do.
So, material rights essentially refer to massive discounts or vouchers promised to customers for future software purchases. When you strip that accounting quirk out to look at the pure underlying demand for what they're selling today, their core revenue is surging by 43%.
Man, it's massive. And it's not just a bunch of small businesses trying them out either. They boast almost 3,000 customers, 2,946 to be exact, who are spending $100,000 or more annually.
Wow.
Yeah, that high roller tier is up 24% year over year.
Which tells you these aren't just small, isolated pilot programs. These are massive, company-wide enterprise deployments. Large corporations are, ripping out legacy systems, embedding their most critical data on this resilience model.
Exactly. But out of all these numbers, the metric that really stopped me in my tracks was their average subscription dollar-based net retention rate. It sits at 120%.
Yeah, that's a huge indicator of health.
Plus, they maintain a net promoter score of over 80, which puts them in the top 1% of all enterprise software companies. Think about what that 120% retention rate actually means.
Okay, how so?
It's like realizing you can't build an unsinkable ship, right? So instead, you sell the world's most luxurious, instantly deployable lifeboats. And once people buy one lifeboat, they love it so much that they come back to buy 20% more lifeboats the very next year.
The lifeboat analogy is spot on. But But to stretch it further, they aren't just buying more of the same lifeboat. They are buying lifeboats for different parts of their fleet. And that gets into the actual mechanics of their business model.
Let me push back on that model for a second. When
Yeah.
you are growing that fast, like 32% ARR growth at a scale of $1.5 billion, usually, a tech company's just hemorrhaging money.
Sure, yeah.
The classic Silicon Valley playbook is to burn through cash to acquire those logos at all costs. So how is Rubrik scaling this aggressively without entirely draining their bank account?
What's fascinating here is how the financials actually work. It comes down to the mechanics of what they call their true platform strategy. They employ a classic but highly optimized land and expand motion.
Okay, land and expand.
Yeah, they might land a new customer by selling them a solution to protect their traditional on-premises enterprise data, the servers sitting down in their basement.
Right, so that is the initial lifeboat.
Exactly. But today, a company's data doesn't just sit in the basement, it's migrating to the cloud. It's in SaaS applications like Microsoft 365 or Salesforce. It's unstructured data scattered across thousands of employee laptops.
Oh, I see.
Because Rubrik manages all of this from one single platform, they seamlessly expand that customer's coverage. They sell them the cloud module, then the SaaS module, then the unstructured data module.
Gotcha. And I imagine every time a customer turns on one of those new modules, Rubrik's margins improve because they've already paid the initial cost to acquire that customer.
Precisely. The sales and marketing cost to upsell an existing customer is just a fraction of the cost to win a new one. And we see the hard proof of this in their subscription ARR contribution margin.
Okay, what are the numbers there?
It improved to 13.2% this quarter, which is up significantly from 8.0% a year ago. They are proving that they aren't just growing top-line revenue at all costs, they're doing it with incredible operating leverage.
Which perfectly explains their gross margin numbers. The sources show a non-GAAP gross margin of almost 83%.
Right. In simple terms, for every dollar they take in, after paying the direct hard costs of hosting and delivering that software, they keep 83 cents.
That's wild.
For a company doing the incredibly heavy lifting of deep data protection and cyber recovery, keeping 83 cents on the dollar is remarkable efficiency. It's what allowed them to generate a strong free cash flow of $73.6 million this quarter, representing a 19% margin. So they are highly profitable on a cash basis while still growing at 32%.
Okay, so that 120% net retention rate makes total sense now. They aren't constantly on a treadmill trying to win new logos from scratch just to hit their quarterly targets.
Exactly.
They are organically growing within their existing base because the attack surface of those companies just keeps expanding. But, that brings us to a critical pivot point.
What's that?
If your entire business model relies on expanding to cover whatever new tech your customer adopts, what happens when the customer adopts something entirely autonomous? To justify maintaining that 120% retention rate, Rubrik has to secure the next major enterprise threat. And right now, there's really only one answer to that: artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. The conversation in the modern boardroom has completely shifted. It's no longer just about protecting static databases. It is about protecting dynamic, autonomous AI systems.
And the sources show Rubrik rolling out some incredibly futuristic stuff to tackle this. They talk about this concept of agentic cyber resilience, like bringing data, identity, and AI into a single security architecture. One of the initiatives mentioned is Project Glasswing.
Oh yeah, Project Glasswing is fascinating.
Yeah, where they are actively using Anthropic's Mythos Research Preview to test what they call frontier AI.
Right. So frontier AI basically means the absolute cutting edge, most advanced generative models available. By partnering with Anthropic, who, are known for their heavy focus on AI safety and constitutional AI, Rubrik is essentially running war games.
War games.
Yeah, they are trying to understand how these highly advanced AI models behave, how they might hallucinate, and how they might be manipulated during a breach so they can build defenses before the threat even becomes mainstream.
Wow, it's like studying a virus in a lab before it hits the general population.
Exactly.
And we are already seeing the practical application of this. The investor presentation highlights the Rubrik Agent Cloud, or RAC, specifically designed for Google Cloud's Gemini. It's built to automatically discover AI agents operating across an enterprise and apply real-time, intent-based guardrails. And underpinning all of this is something they call SAGE, the Semantic AI Governance Engine. But I gotta say, here's where it gets really interesting. The feature that absolutely blows my mind, the one that feels like straight-up science fiction, is Agent Rewind.
Yeah, Agent Rewind is arguably their most critical new capability because as companies deploy AI agents to autonomously handle data-giving bots, the power to read emails, create files, process invoices, and interact with software, the risk profile just goes through the roof.
Okay, I have to stop and ask for an explanation of the mechanics here.
Yeah.
Because throwing around terms like intent-based guardrails sounds great in a marketing brochure, but how does that actually work? How does Sage know what an AI agent's intent is?
It's a great question because it moves us from marketing buzzwords to actual computer science. Sage works by establishing semantic baselines. It doesn't just look at a file and say, oh, this is a spreadsheet. It uses machine learning to understand the context of the data and the typical behavior of the identity accessing it. For example, it learns that John from the accounting department typically accesses domestic invoice data between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. That is his normal intent.
Right.
If an AI agent acting on John's behalf suddenly tries to access highly classified HR salary records at 3 a.m. and export them to an unrecognized server, Sage recognizes that this action violates the semantic intent of John's role. It flags it instantly.
And that is where Agent Rewind comes in.
Yes, instead of just sending an alert, Agent Rewind physically rolls the environment back. You can think of it like hitting Ctrl-Z or having version control for reality.
Version control for reality. I love that.
Because Rubrik takes continuous, immutable micro-snapshots of the data environment, they don't have to restore an entire server from yesterday's backup. They can isolate that specific malicious action and rewind the data to the exact millisecond before the AI agent went rogue.
Okay, but I have to push back hard on this entire premise.
Go for it.
We are building AI to watch the AI. If these AI agents are operating at machine speed like processing thousands of actions, queries, and file transfers a second, aren't we just creating an infinite loop of bots fighting bots? How does a human security team even begin to keep control of the steering wheel? That sounds like a recipe for a massive cascading system failure.
This raises an important question, and that is a very valid fear. Frankly, it is the messy, uncomfortable reality of where the industry is right now. You aren't wrong to worry about losing the steering wheel. AI models do hallucinate. They do generate false positives. Building AI to police AI is incredibly complex and risky.
Right.
But here is the harsh truth that Rubrik's philosophy is built on. It. Human speed response is no longer an option. It is a guaranteed loss.
Because we just can't click a mouse fast enough?
Exactly. The days of a security analyst sitting in a security operations center watching a dashboard, sipping coffee, and manually clicking a button to isolate a compromised server, those days are over. If a bad actor weaponizes an AI agent, or even if a well-meaning internal bot just glitches and starts mass deleting files, the damage is done in milliseconds. When Rubrik says cyber resilience equals AI resilience, they are acknowledging that to fight machine speed threats, defenders have absolutely no choice but to use machine speed recovery.
So you're saying you have to let the automated systems fight it out?
Yes, because by the time the human brain registers the alert on the screen, your entire database is already encrypted and held for ransom.
So the whole bots fighting bots scenario isn't some dystopian fear we should try to avoid. It's the required reality we have to figure out how to manage safely.
Precisely. And again, going back to their core premise, the breach or the AI mistake is inevitable. You cannot build a perfect, impenetrable wall around a generative AI model. It will eventually do unpredictable things. Therefore, your only true security is the ability to instantly rewind the damage.
That makes sense conceptually, but let's bring this out of the abstract, futuristic realm of AI agents. I want to talk about where you, the listener, actually interact with this technology today. Because AI resilience means absolutely nothing if it doesn't integrate with the basic tools you use every single day at work, or if it doesn't protect the critical infrastructure we all rely on in the physical world.
Definitely.
And the sources highlight some major real-world integrations that prove Rubrik isn't just playing in the lab.
Right. This is where Rubrik's strategy elevates them from being just a great standalone product to becoming an essential, invisible layer of the global tech ecosystem.
For example, they just announced data protection for Google Workspace. They are bringing immutable, air-gapped backups to everyday tools like Gmail and Google Drive.
And we should probably define those terms quickly for clarity.
Yeah, good call. So immutable means the backup data literally cannot be altered, edited, or encrypted by a ransomware attacker. Once it's written, it's locked. And air-gapped means it's mathematically isolated from your main network. If a hacker gets into your active Google Drive, they cannot reach the backup because there is no direct bridge to it.
Which is crucial considering how much critical enterprise data lives purely in emails and shared documents today.
Exactly. Then you have this massive new integration with Microsoft Defender. It connects Microsoft's real-time identity threat detection directly with Rubrik's automated rollback capabilities. The presentation explicitly notes that this turns incident response times from days into hours. How does that physically work between the two companies?
Well, it's all about replacing manual human workflows with automated API connections.
Okay.
In a traditional setup, Microsoft Defender might spot an anomaly. It flags it and generates a ticket. A human analyst eventually reads that ticket, investigates the logs, confirms there is a breach, and then sends a request to the backup team to initiate a recovery. That whole process can take days.
Yeah, that sounds painfully slow.
What Rubrik did was connect those systems directly via API. Now, when Microsoft Defender detects the identity threat, it sends a signal straight to Rubrik's system, which instantly triggers the rollback. The software talks to the software, eliminating the human bottleneck entirely.
So what does this all mean? Days to hours. That is a massive leap in efficiency. But the integration that struck me the most has nothing to do with big tech software. It has to do with physical human lives.
Oh, the AHA partnership.
Yeah. Rubrik was just selected as a preferred cybersecurity provider by the American Hospital Association, the AHA. That partnership gives nearly 5,000 hospitals access to Rubrik's ransomware response workshops, financial impact assessments, and cyber resilience bundles. Like, if you are listening to this, you use Gmail, you use Microsoft, and at some point, you or someone you love is going to rely on a hospital bed.
And that changes the stakes entirely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, an IT outage at a retail store means, lost revenue for a day. A ransomware attack on a hospital is a life or death crisis.
Literally.
It means diverted ambulances, delayed surgeries, and doctors unable to access critical patient history or medication dosages. When Rubrik can cut response times from days to hours in a hospital setting, they aren't just saving data, they are actively preserving patient care.
Wow.
By deeply integrating natively with Microsoft and Google, and by protecting 5,000 hospitals, they are positioning themselves as a foundational safety net underneath the critical infrastructure of society.
They basically become the invisible immune system of the digital economy.
Exactly. And there is one more brilliant tactical move mentioned in the sources regarding how they are cementing themselves into this foundational layer. It's not just about software integrations, it's about human psychology.
How so?
They launched a platform at Rubrik.com community. It's a dedicated space for practitioners. They are hosting these regional in-person meetups called Huddles for Resilience, or H4Rs.
Oh, right. Getting the actual frontline IT and security professionals together in a room sharing stories from the trenches.
Yes, and strategically, this is genius. They aren't just selling top-down to the C-suite executives who hold the budget. By fostering peer networking and encouraging practitioner-authored playbooks, they are creating a loyal army of frontline workers.
The people actually doing the work.
Right. These are the people actually fighting the ransomware at 2 a.m. When you give them a platform to collaborate and speak a shared language of resilience, you build immense brand loyalty. When those practitioners inevitably get promoted or move to a new company, the very first thing they are going to do is recommend the platform they already know and trust.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It builds an incredibly powerful competitive moat that goes far beyond just having good code.
It's the ultimate combination. You have the top-down, undeniable financial metrics impressing the board, and the bottom-up community loyalty from the engineers actually using the product.
Yeah, it's a powerful playbook.
So let's wrap this up and look at the whole picture. We started today by looking at a company that built a nearly $1.6 billion ARR business by telling their customers a hard, uncomfortable truth prevention will eventually fail. Cyber attacks are going to happen to you.
Uncomfortable, but true.
Right. But instead of just selling fear, they took that dark reality and turned it into an incredibly lucrative, high-margin, true platform business. They convinced customers to buy into a resilience model, achieving a 120% net retention rate along the way.
Which is phenomenal.
And now, as the enterprise attack surface morphs again, they're pioneering agentic cyber resilience. They are running war games with frontier AI through Project Glasswing and building complex semantic guardrails with Sage to ensure that when AI inevitably hallucinates, makes mistakes, or gets weaponized by bad actors, there is a literal Ctrl-Z agent rewind button waiting to instantly fix the damage.
Yeah, they have realized that the only way to survive the era of machine speed threats is with a foundation of machine speed recovery.
Which leaves us with a final thought to mull over, especially as we look at where this technology is heading next. The sources paint a very clear picture of a near future where AI agents are actively defending our data against other malicious AI agents, battling it out and reversing damage at speeds that the human brain can't even perceive.
That's Wild West stuff.
It really is. So if agentic cyber resilience truly becomes the absolute standard for enterprise security and AI systems are fully in charge of discovering, monitoring, and rewinding destructive actions in real time, when does cybersecurity stop being an IT function that humans actively manage? At what point does it become an entirely autonomous machine-to-machine immune system where the human is permanently and perhaps necessarily locked out of the loop entirely?